Is it recording? Because I can't see.
Yes.
Okay.
Did I push? Is it pushed back too far? Do you think it works better if I like pull it forward and then back the zoom off? Because it's farther back than we normally do it. I just don't want it to cause an issue.
I don't know. You tell me.
I mean, I think it looks fine. As long as it's focusing on us and not focusing on something else.
I mean, if we have a little bit of the Vaseline, it's okay. Just make us look better.
I don't need any Vaseline.
All right. Ready?
All right.
Hi, and welcome to our What Sold video for December 8th through 14th. We're going to go over every item that we sold across multiple platforms for our reselling business. I'm Wendy.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Wendy.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Wendy.
I'm still Kevin.
Okay, so first things first, I wanted to share with you guys that we received a check, has my address all over it, a check from the USPS for the teddy bear on Etsy that I mentioned in either the last video or the one before.
Had like a little golfing outfit.
Yeah, he had on a little Argyle sweater. Anyway, so we have now gotten 2 successful insurance claims paid by the United States Postal Service. The only 2 that we've filed actually have been paid. And then everything else so far has
Eventually made it,
with the exception of one item that we heard from on a buyer, which I didn't even mention in the video because I didn't know about it at the time. We had a fireproof jacket that we mailed out, and I don't think we've talked about it in a What Sold video, but that person reached out to us and said that it wasn't there yet, and I haven't even filed a missing mail on it yet because I think that they were...
Well, they complained really early.
They did.
Like a couple of days into the process.
I think it was more like they were just being impatient rather than a post office issue. However, it is technically late according to what their original shipping estimate was.
I feel like they wanted it for Christmas and they ordered it on like the 19th or something. So it wasn't going to get there anyway.
No, but it looks like it's going to arrive, but it hasn't arrived yet. So anyway, that's where we are with all the USPS stuff. And so update on that. Done, checked off. All right, let's dive into what sold for this week. The first thing was an Exhilaration women's swimsuit. This was actually my old swimsuit.
I remember that swimsuit.
And I don't wear it anymore, obviously, because someone else now owns it. And they bought it on eBay for $11.98.
Still weird to me. You can sell used bathing suits, but not underwear. What's the difference?
Why can't you sell used perfume? That still bothers me. Yeah. I don't know. There's reasons. And eBay knows what they are.
Because I told you to.
Yeah.
It's like your parent. It's like, because I said so.
Yep, that's why. That's what it says in the policy, because we said so.
Because we said so.
All right, next up was a Jazzwares Disney Junior Spidey and His Amazing Friends Gwencopter vehicle. We found this in the Goodwill bins for $1.03, and it sold for $12.99. We got positive feedback on that, but the buyer complained in their positive feedback that they overpaid. I don't know what to make of that. I mean, you bought it. You knew what you were buying it for when you paid for it. So I don't know. I just don't know what the purpose of complaining.
And that was full price. They could have made an offer, but they didn't. So that's on you, bro.
What? Or were you trying to make me feel bad in the positive feedback? I just don't understand the purpose of saying something. But
some people don't understand how feedback is supposed to work.
I don't know. They actually said, like, I overpaid, but it wasn't the buyer's fault. And I'm like, then why say
Then why are you saying
something?
it in our feedback?
Yeah, why did you say something?
The manufacturer isn't going to see that. They don't care. The other eBayers aren't going to see it.
Manufacturer?
Whoever they're actually upset
with. Yeah, I don't know who they're upset with.
I don't know.
I guess themselves. Next up was a Sims game plus 3 expansion packs. And these were Windows PC games. These were gifted to us to sell, and they sold for $29.99.
People like Sims stuff.
People do like Sims.
I always pick
Sims
it up if I see it.
Next up was a 1960, The Night Before Christmas, giant telltale book. This was found at an estate sale for only 50 cents, And this is one to be on the lookout for. The one that we had
rough.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. Like the spine was kind of peeling off and it had seen better days. But it still sold for $74.62. So be on the lookout for this book.
Yeah, we made a ton on that. It was the same sale. We got a couple of hymnals we already sold. And we got that
Pollyanna.
That rain and the Pollyanna game and the rainbow vacuum. And the reason is because, and we went late in the day, like in the afternoon. They were cutting prices. Nobody had cleared it out because it was like a homespun estate sale. It wasn't
family run.
It was family run, so it wasn't like advertised, I guess. We just saw a sign when we were driving around looking for garage
we
sales.
just got lucky.
So we got lucky. That's why we got so much good stuff. Normally that stuff would have all been gone by the time we got there.
I think I remember that they had bad signage.
Well, they did, and I doubt they put it anywhere.
Yeah.
It was just like they threw some signs out.
Yeah.
So
that was a good one.
those are the ones you want to find.
Definitely.
That you hope for. Oh, please. Like rummage sales.
Yep. Next up was a Disney 2019 photo album. It was brand new and sealed. And it was for like old-fashioned 4x6 photos. We found this at the San Antonio Goodwill bins, like as we were walking out. We were like, oh, here's a brand new sealed Disney photo album. We'll risk it. And it was one of the first things that sold for $29.99. Next up was a 2006 Aerosmith Rockin' the Joint Tour double-sided print t-shirt. Like it was actually a tour shirt from the 2006 tour.
They looked old on it.
Yeah, they did.
It wasn't like what you'd think of Aerosmith. It was like old Aerosmith.
Yeah, it was like old Aerosmith. Although, I don't know, there's something about, what's his name?
Steven Tyler. Old Steven Tyler.
He's always looked old.
I guess. He's got kind of a rubbery face.
He has a very skeletonized face.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that shirt did have some damage. I think maybe it had a hole in the armpit or something like that.
I don't remember. It did have a little bit of damage, though.
So we found that in one of the Houston bins for $1.73, and it sold for $29.99.
I was surprised by that one.
Really? I just think tour shirts will
Tour
sell.
shirts do sell well, but that one was damaged.
Yeah.
And it still sold for $29.
Next up was a VHF, UHF TV rotating antenna control box, power supply, and remote control. This was like a thing where it would be like, you'd push the button and it would like move your antenna around so you could find the right channels.
If you know what VHF and UHF are, you're old.
Yes, that is definitely true. This was gifted to us to sell and it sold for $18.50. Next up was a pair of my old boots. They were black suede ankle style booties by the brand Me Too. And those sold for $27.98. I think I got those a long time ago at Steinmart. Remember when Steinmart was still in business?
Are they not in business?
I don't think so. I think they all went out of business.
I never went in one. I've never been in a dress barn either.
I've never been in a dress barn.
Terrible name.
I don't think I would
Terrible
want to
name.
buy clothing from a place that was called a barn. Like I got my clothes at the barn.
Like it's just a bad name.
Next up was a Bible, and this was the Revised Standard Version Church of Christ from 1953. That was found at the thrift store for 81 cents, and it sold for $14.99.
I only made like $3 on that. But, you know, that's pretty standard for a regular Bible.
Yeah. Next up was a Kirkland's angel figurine, and it said, Merry Christmas with love on it. This was gifted to... Your tea is ready. That was gifted to us along with an entire angel collection. So we had no cost. It sold for $19.99. Next up was a Henriksen Imports 3-inch ceramic chubby bluebird. And when I looked this up after I purchased it, because I got a bunch of bird figurines on an estate sale for $1 each, so I only paid $1 for this. But I figured out once I looked this up that it was supposed to come in a pair. So that did.
You separated it from its lover?
I don't think it had its lover. I think it was probably broken, but I do think that made it not sell as fast.
Like its heart.
Yeah. And it did eventually sell for $22.99.
Maybe somebody else had a single bluebird and they were...
Maybe. Yep. Next up was a lot of 7 woodworking magazines. They were not all the same magazine type. Like they were different names. One of them was Woodsmith, Woodworker's Journal, and Today's Woodworker. All of those came from, yeah, that's what I was thinking. All of those came from a garage sale for $1. Somebody was a woodworker or trying to be, and those sold for $22.99 on Etsy. Next up was a VHS of Dr. Seuss's The Lorax, not like the one that was out in theaters, but
No, the cartoon.
like the cartoon version. And we got that at the thrift store for 27 cents, and that sold for $9.99. Next up was a DVD of DC Shoes Presents the DC Video Skateboarding DVD. That's what it was called. They got real creative on the name. This one was gifted to us to sell, and it sold for $10.38. Next up was a mounted lithographic print by Bernard Stanley Hayes, and the name of the print was Thanks and Praises. It was very large. It was 3 foot by 2 foot. This was somebody brought in like a framed print, and they wanted to reuse the frame.
At our other business, the frame shop, somebody brought in a big frame, and they wanted to take that out. Actually, no, I think they might have given us the frame and the glass too. I think that they
anyway, they gave
got
it to
a
us.
new piece, and they were just getting rid of. They're like, "Do you want to do something with this?"
Yeah, they were like, "Do you want this?"
Because most
sure.
they'll just throw it out.
Yeah,
because they say we're just going to throw it away, and it's like you can do what you want with it. So.
Yeah, we have customers do that all the time. So anyway, we got this from our other business, and we had no cost, and this ended up being kind of a valuable print. It sold for $82.98.
It was vacuum mounted on a board, but it was really scuffed in a few areas too, so it wasn't pristine.
No,
and it still sold for that much.
No, I think that artist was just particularly.
I did have to make a shipping container for it. It's really just 2 pieces of really thick cardboard folded and sandwiched around it with an inch around.
Yeah.
If you're ever wondering how we ship those.
Yeah.
But they always seem to get there undamaged.
Next up was a pair of adult size small Adidas soccer shin guards. They were new in the package. We found these at one of the Houston bins, and we paid $2.47. They sold for $14. Next up was a really cute Douglas Cuddle Toy 16-inch plush stuffed Dachshund wiener dog. And even though these don't sell for much, we always have to pick up Dachshund stuff.
I
we used
can't
to have
leave
a
a Dachshund in the bin.
Yeah.
Can't leave them in there to get thrown away.
R.I.P. Tyler Durden.
Dirty.
All right, so we got that for $2 at, where did we get that?
It must have been
one of the Houston
or
ones.
Waco.
Anyway, we got that for $2 at one of the bins, and it sold for $19.99.
And we found that Dachshund, not only do we pick it up because we want to save it, but Dachshund stuff sells.
That's true.
People love Dachshunds.
They do love Dachshunds. All right, next up was an OEM set of Ford F-150 car mats.
Now, those definitely came from the Waco bins.
Those came from the Waco bins. They were in really good condition. Probably somebody had just removed them immediately.
It looked like somebody bought the vehicle,
else.
took them out, and put new.
Yeah, they were in really good condition. So we, at the Waco bins and in a lot of other bins, they'll have items that weigh over a particular weight, like 7 pounds is usually the weight. Those items will cost like $5 or
a flat fee.
So that's how it was at the Waco bins, and their flat fee for items over 7 pounds was $8. So we paid $8 for these floor mats, and they sold for $53.97. Next up was an 8-inch chalkware ballerina figurine by Silvano. It was signed and numbered. This was gifted to us to sell by some family members, and it sold for $59.99.
That's something I wouldn't have picked up either.
No, me either.
So
to me, it didn't. I would have walked right past it.
We learned a lot from the stuff that we're gifted to sell.
That's true.
We learn a lot about things to look for that we didn't know.
So next up was a power supply AC adapter for a Codaphone. What do you call them? The answering machine. Yeah, I just forgot what they were called. Answering machine. This was also gifted to us in just a box of electronic equipment. So we had no cost, and it sold for $14.99.
That's not bad.
So if we had an answering machine, what would our message say?
Leave a message.
That's it?
That's how mine always are.
No, it would be like something cute like, "Hi, you've reached the Williamsons. Wendy and..."
Oh, I'm not involved in this. I'd be like, leave a message.
If you want to leave a message for Wendy and... Oh, I'm not involved with this. If you want to leave a message, go ahead and leave a message after the tone. Beep, beep. It's pretty weird, but...
Yeah, it's not a very good message. People used to get zany with those things. Like, everybody has voicemail now, but when it was an answering machine, people would make the wackiest recordings.
They really would.
They would go all out, make fake ones, like it's a radio station, just weird stuff.
Or like you pretending like you're answering. Hello?
Yeah, hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello? I can't hear. Hello?
I got you.
I'm just kidding. We're not home right now. Oh, yeah, those are the people that...
Answering machines are the worst.
It shows you who the evil people in the world are.
Yep. All right, next up was a 2005 Apple iPod second generation pink 4 gigabyte iPod MP3 player. We found this at a garage sale for 50 cents. It worked, but it did not hold a charge.
Yeah, the battery lasted like no time. If you left it plugged in, it worked great.
Yep. That sold for $29.99, and it sold immediately.
And it had a whole bunch of songs on it.
Yeah, it did. All right, next up was an item that we had listed forever, and it was a Jimmy 10-inch singing and dancing plush Santa animated twerking dog who sang the song, "I Like Big Mutts, and I Cannot Lie."
And it twerked.
And it twerked. We'll show you guys a video of it. It was pretty cute.
I like big mutts and I cannot lie. Other doggies can't deny. So when a human walks in with a leash in a hand and puts a chew toy in your face, it's that smell. Start wagging your tail because you know that treat so well. Deep in the park she's walking. I'm hooked and I can't stop barking. Oh, you man, I want to sit with ya and take our picture. I'm a good pup and I got much bark. I'm a good pup and I got much bark.
We found that at the Goodwill bins, brand new in the package, for 92 cents.
A long time ago.
And I don't know if I was emotionally attached to this or what, but I just wouldn't sell it for too small of an amount of money because I also like big mutts and I cannot lie.
It was really cute. And we took the time to take a video of it.
We
She
did.
just felt attached to it.
And it eventually sold for $42.99 to a fellow mutt lover.
There you go.
Next up was 2 12-packs of superior quality Christmas cards with envelopes. They were in the
very
package.
nice.
They actually were not. Because
But it says superior quality.
I kept some of these to use for personal use, and the quality was actually less than superior.
But it says it right on the package.
But they were cute. So anyway, we found these at the thrift store for $2.17, and they sold for $13. Like, the envelopes were really see-through. They were very sheer.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next up was a Lane Bryant plus-size knit velour tapered pull-on pant. Y'all know how I feel about a velour pant. I do love velour pants. Velour anything, it just feels so soft. These were gifted to us, and they sold for $24.99.
I prefer crushed velvet.
Crushed velvet? Boy, are you trapped in the 90s?
I'm just saying, aren't they pretty much exactly the same thing, feel-wise?
No, crushed velvet feels like kind of like velour has that like all over like soft feel, and crushed velvet you can feel how it like isn't
Goes one direction?
Yes, the nap is not the same.
Is that how you can
throughout.
tell apart? Like if you run
Well,
your
you can
fingers
tell-
through it and it makes a pattern, you can tell that that's velvet and not velour?
No, the difference between velvet and velour is a knit, so it's stretchy,
Yeah.
and velvet is a woven, so it's not stretchy.
That doesn't help me at all.
Fun fact, I was a fashion design major, so if you want to know about fiber
I
or
always forget
fabric.
what's what. I always forget which one's which.
Next up, it was a lot of 2 General Mills Jive Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards 2003 music CDs. These were like either inside the cereal boxes
Or mail-in.
Or mail-in from purchasing General Mills cereal. We found these at a garage sale for 50 cents and they sold for $15. Next up was a lot of 6 genuine Peepers canvas soft squeeze eyeglass cases, like the kind where you like push them and they pop open, you slide your glasses in and out.
Pouch.
And yes, pouch. And these sell. I noticed that the sell-through rate on these was remarkably good for what they are. These were gifted to us and they sold for $19.99.
I don't know why someone would need 6 of them.
I mean, you gotta keep your peepers safe. Next up was a mixed lot of 10 crime, thriller, suspense, and mystery audiobooks on cassette. And we got most of these actually at the thrift store.
I remember I bought all of those, but thrillers seem to sell.
We paid $2.99 for all of those together, and they sold for $35.99.
Although I wasn't sure for a while because they took a bit
they did.
to go, but they actually sold and we made decent money on them.
Yeah.
Romance and mystery thriller seem to do really well. And horror.
Yeah.
And horror.
And fantasy.
Yeah. And fantasy science fiction / science fiction.
And documentary. And
I mean, that's really the top 4.
Biography.
I'm going to say,
Just teasing.
no, I'm going to say thriller / horror, and then science fiction and romance.
Yeah,
those are the ones to look for.
All right, next up was a 15-inch alpaca fur, super fluffy, soft, cuddly teddy bear made in Peru. It was made out of alpaca hair. We found this in the Fort Worth Goodwill bins, and I saw it, and it just looked like no other teddy bear I had ever seen. So I decided to grab it, even though it had no brand or anything on it. Actually, it might have had a brand, but
and you know how they have names on the tag? His name was Alpaca.
Yeah, that is not true. But that would have been a good name.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
If it was a Beanie Baby?
Yeah.
Alpaca.
Yeah. Alpacino.
Or Albert Pacacino or something.
Pacacino, yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
had that on the spreadsheet at $0. I don't know why. I must have forgotten to put it on the spreadsheet.
She split everything out and then we found it later.
Sometimes I forget to put stuff on the spreadsheet. Y'all, I actually make
we
mistakes.
Wouldn't have spent,
I know that's surprising.
I will say we wouldn't have spent more than $2 that day. So
that's true.
Use your imagination.
It sold for $23.98.
And we got good feedback on it.
Next up was a set of Razor pink multi-sport elbow and knee pads. They were new in the package. We got these at a garage sale for $5. They did take a very long time to sell, but they sold for $19.99.
I'm surprised we paid $5 for them too. That seems high for us.
In the package.
I guess, but
yeah, you would think that something like that would sell.
That stuff doesn't move fast. I've noticed. We've had stuff like that before. It just doesn't move fast.
Yeah.
Because you can get it anywhere.
True.
Like anywhere.
Next up was a 12-inch vinyl record called Harmonica and the Blues by Bill Riley. This was gifted to us to sell, and it sold for $15.29 on Etsy.
I would never have picked that particular one.
I don't even know who Bill Riley is.
I don't either, but I mean, that kind of stuff you see all the time. I would have never picked that one up.
Next up was a vintage lot of 3 Neurosmith Music Blocks cartridges. These were some kind of game cartridges or learning cartridges for some kind of kid's toy, and I never really exactly figured out what it went to. But I did learn that these sell for a lot. I found these in the San Antonio bins, picked them up just on a whim because I tried to comp them like while we were shopping and couldn't find them. They're very rare. And so I was like, well, these don't weigh much. I'm going to risk it. Paid 87 cents for them, and they sold for $56.55. So definitely worth it.
Sometimes
and we
it's
didn't
worth
know
it
if they worked.
to
Like
just
we
go with
sold
your
them as
gut.
untested.
Well, that kind of thing, it's like an old SNES cartridge, the style.
Yeah, with the computer chip.
With the chip that goes, they don't really go bad.
Yeah, you just got to blow on them.
Unless it's, which actually you're not supposed to do because it gets moisture and stuff up. You're not supposed to ever blow inside them, but we all did it.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of cartridge. So those just don't go bad.
Yeah.
Like it would have to show visible signs of destruction for it to not work.
Yeah, they just don't make things like they used to.
In that instance, they don't. I mean, it's just a solid piece that doesn't, it's a chip.
Yeah.
It's just all on a chip, so.
All right, next up was a Batman 3-inch bat signal pin light keychain. So you pressed the little button on there and it shined like a flashlight, but it did like the bat signal. So you could,
I showed a picture of it.
You could hold it up on the wall and it would like display the bat signal on your wall.
Very weak light.
It was a very weak light, but it was kind of a unique item. It was pretty worn, like the paint on the flashlight was pretty worn off, but it seemed like it had a pretty good sell-through rate. And we got it for 90 cents out of a thrift store.
Dallas bins.
Oh, was it in the bins?
Dallas bins. I remember you picked it up.
Oh, I didn't even know it was in the bins. Okay, so we got it at the Goodwill bins, and y'all, this sold for $19.99.
And we got good feedback on it. You had to hold the light like 1.5 feet from the wall to get a good signal, but hey,
I don't think Batman's going to be answering that signal.
No.
All right, next up was a 2007 Hallmark keepsake ornament of Tea Time Taxi. So this was like a golf cart with Christmas decorations all over it. And this was gifted to us. It sold for $11.98. The Hallmark ornaments you want to look for are the ones with sounds and lights. Those are the ones that sell for a lot. All right, next up was an Eden and Love women's medium maroon rainbow stripe sweater. This was new with tags. This was a dupe of something, and I don't remember what brand it was a dupe of, but it was a dupe of something.
That was from the Reseller garage sale. I recognize the price.
It was. It was from the Reseller garage sale. We paid $3.28 for it. It sold for $17. Took forever to sell. Next up was a DVD of Nova, The Fabric of the Cosmos with Brian Greene. It was new in package and sealed. We got this at a garage sale for 34 cents. We must have bought in bulk at this garage sale. And it sold for $16.99. Next up was a very frustrating sale. This was a lot of 3 Christmas classic VHS movies. It included Home Alone, The Santa Claus, and The Grinch. And they were all tested. These were used. Usually when I list used media, I have now started listing them as no returns because we've had way too many issues with used software, used
people
movies.
Burn it, copy it,
yeah, they either copy it, watch it, you read it, and then send it back because, if you have a 30-day return policy, they can do a lot within that time. And that's what happened here. So we got this for free. That's the only saving grace on this. We didn't pay anything for these movies. Sold them for $10 and they got them. They said, well, we didn't get them until December 26th. Well, they didn't order them until like December 12th.
Oh my God.
And, we had the shipping estimated at a time of arrival. I'm sure it didn't say that they were going to get it before Christmas. And then they said they wanted to return it. So I guess I'd either forgot to put no returns, which sometimes happens because, I'm in the habit of not doing that for most listings. Or this was listed before I realized that was going to be an ongoing issue. So anyway, this item is getting returned, and I'm super frustrated about it.
They totally watched them.
That's what I think. I think they watched them, but because even if they did get them the day after Christmas, it's not like Christmas is never going to happen again.
Yeah, you have them then. They rent it. People do this with VH. That's why you have to put no returns. People rent them, but they're not renting them. They're just taking your money.
Yeah. That's the other thing to make sure and put no returns on is Halloween costumes, because people will buy Halloween costumes, wear them, and then return them. People are the worst, seriously.
The only option you could have on that is to stop selling Halloween costumes at the middle of September. That way the return window is gone by the end of Halloween. I mean, that's one way you can get around it. Like September 28th, no more.
That's like when
Halloween
you can make
costumes.
the most money on Halloween costumes.
I know.
It's the worst idea ever. All right, next up was a women's sweater, like a snowflake winter holiday style sweater by Ann Taylor Loft. And it was pink with white snowflakes on it.
That was a cute sweater.
We got this a long time ago in the Goodwill bins, and then I wore it like for several years and then decided to sell it. So I had the cost as $0 because I had just kept it for myself.
It was a cute sweater.
It sold for $15.18. Next up was a board game called Cartagena Escape from the Fortress. And we got that at one of the Austin Goodwill bins for $2.06, and it sold for $44.99.
I think that was the north one. That was the north bin. We actually did, in retrospect, way better on the North Austin bins than we originally thought we did.
That's true.
We sold most of the stuff we got, it feels
I
like.
think we were just hot and grumpy.
I think we were just in a bad mood. I don't know. But we did pretty good that trip.
That's true.
I got no complaints.
Next up was an Aritzia Wilfred Geneva scarf with fringe. It was like in a winter white. Kevin found this at the South Austin bins and brought it over to me, and I was like, this looks cheap. And then it turned out to be Aritzia.
Well, and it did look cheap, but I was like, look at the tag. The tag looks expensive.
So obviously I don't know what I'm talking about. But we got that for $1.03, and it sold for $39.98.
And it did feel cheap. It looked cheap.
Yeah, it did.
And I would have.
Is a nice brand.
I was about to throw it back until I saw the tag, and I'm like, well, that tag looks pricey. So always look at the tags.
Next up is an author definitely to be on the lookout for. This is a fantasy author, and the book that sold was Memories of Ice, book 3 of the Malazan Fallen series by Stephen Erickson. And we picked up several books by him, and a lot of them have sold.
They're valuable. I never heard of him before, and I read a lot of fantasy stuff.
I know. So this one we got in the South Austin bins for $1.03, and it sold for $22.48. Next up was a Super Mario Brothers movie 8-inch metal popcorn bucket. This was like the special popcorn bucket that you got when you went to the movie theater and spent $15 on popcorn. And this was found in the which bins?
One of the Houston bins.
One of the Houston bins. And we paid $2.48 for it, and it sold for $29.99.
Because it was one of the last things I picked up.
Next up was a Logitech wireless USB PC receiver dongle only. Dongle is like the worst name for a product.
It's not a good name.
Like, it just sounds wrong.
Yeah.
Like, you feel like you're saying something dirty.
Dongle.
I hate saying that. Anyway, I spilled a root beer on my computer keyboard. And my keyboard, we tried to save it, but it was not savable. But we decided to sell the dongle that went with it, because I figured...
Always save the parts.
I figured somebody lost that and needed it, and it was true. So that
we got feedback on that. Said, thank you so much for saving and selling this.
Yes. So that sold for $10.38 and went towards the purchase of a new keyboard that I needed. Next up was a vintage 2-inch ceramic toucan replacement salt shaker only. And I think it was missing the plug for the bottom of it.
The butt plug.
Oh my God. But yeah, I was missing that part.
It's bottom hole plug.
Yeah.
So does that sound better?
No. So that we got at a garage sale for 25 cents, and it sold for $12.99.
That's that one I got at the place where I bought like the 65 ceramic trinket boxes.
Yeah. He did. Okay, so next up was a golf visor that was autographed by 4 players: Ernie Els, Payne Stewart, Fred Couples, and Tom Watson. And I mean, it ended up being worth it, but we took like an hour trying to figure out.
It was really hard trying to figure out the signatures. It took both of us, though. It helps to have an extra pair of eyes on it. You should have seen us. Our OCD was in full overdrive, looking it up, doing searches. I was telling her who I thought it might be. I was looking at players from that time, and I was telling her who I thought it might be, and then she would type it in and look up the signature. Nope. And we just did that over and over again. Yeah. But we figured them all out.
And then we had another hat that we were never able to figure out who it was. That was really frustrating.
We figured all 4 of these out, but the other one was just so wacky. I don't know for sure who it is.
So this one we paid $2 at a garage sale. I think it would normally not have been there because we got there kind of late, but it was pouring rain that day. We got lucky.
We got some good stuff that day.
And this sold for $74.99.
Nice.
Next up was I was really surprised this sold, but this was inside of a bag of like really random stuff from the thrift store. What other stuff was in this bag?
I picked it up because it had a brass duck bookend in it.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it only had one brass duck bookend, but brass stuff sells.
Yeah.
So I figured it was worth the $2 for the bag.
Yeah.
Because I figured we could sell the brass duck head. She ended up throwing most of it in the donate pile again.
Yeah.
And then this random duck head was in there, and this sold first.
So this was, I looked this up, and this ended up being a replacement goose or duck head handle for a charcuterie board. And I think it was one that sold at Neiman's, or is kind of a high-end charcuterie board.
Very random.
I didn't have a brand for it or anything like that, so I just described what it was, and it sold super fast. We paid $1.44 for this at the thrift store, and it sold for $16.50.
So the $8, I think I paid, what, $4 for the bag, something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
So we've already made all the money back on that bag. So if we sell any of the other stuff like that random brass
the
duck,
single
we're
brass
good.
duck head.
Yeah.
Okay, next up was a Zara baby boy 9 to 12 months puffer jacket with a detachable hood. We got this out of the Goodwill bins for $1.50, and this sold for $29.99. Next up was a Golden Girls Sophia Estelle Getty Chia Pet, new in the box. I mean, obviously, I don't think you could sell a used Chia Pet. I don't think that would ship well.
No.
Yeah, no. We got this at an estate sale for $2, and it sold for $19.99.
We had that a long time.
We did. We did have that.
It seemed really nice at the time when we found it. Like, oh, look at this. Cool. Somebody will want this.
Yeah.
Nobody wants it.
Yeah. Next up was a Men at Work cassette, and that we got at the thrift store for 14 cents. It sold for $9.99. Next up was a pair of women's jeans by Signature Studio, and they were like a pink acid wash jean. We got these gifted to us, and they sold for $18. Next up was another item that was gifted to us. These were a pair of Beta brand heavyweight bootcut yoga pants. I'm not familiar with Beta brand, but they felt expensive. And those sold for $24.99. Next up was a good one. This was a brand new sealed VHS of Bear in the Big Blue House by Jim Henson. We got that out of the San Antonio bins, and it sold for $39.99. We paid just 87 cents. And speaking of media, next up was a Straight Out of the Box Part 2. This was a George Strait CD, new and sealed. We found this one out of the Waco bins for $2, and it sold for $20. Next up was one of those things that I had picked up a long time ago, and it was consistently mocking me on the shelf every time I saw it. Kevin had mentioned this, but I don't think it was in a video that aired, because I think it was in one of the ones where we had a sound issue. This was one of those items that kept mocking me. Like, it was just right at my eye line every time I walked into the inventory room. I was like, that item's never going to sell.
Mine was that, it was on the same shelf.
Yeah.
Mine was that Tsum Tsum, that Nightmare Before Christmas Tsum Tsum that we sold last week or the week before. Yeah, that one
this was
just
mine.
stared at me every time.
I was like, we're never going to sell these. That's a bad buy.
They were on the same shelf. It's a cursed shelf, I guess.
So this was 2 boxes of HD Designs, which is Home Depot. And they were wood lantern decorative string lights. They were new in the package. They were really cute, but I guess selling on eBay is just not the place for those. We got those at a garage sale for just $2, and they sold for $29.98.
I mean, it was, we did fine on them.
Yeah, they just sat there
But
forever.
you had to wait for a long time for somebody to be looking to match their old set or something. Yeah.
Next up was a red North Face men's pullover. We got that at...
That looks like South Austin.
South Austin Goodwill bins for $1.03, and it sold for $25. Next up was a lot of 6 cross-stitch Christmas ornaments, new in the package. We got all of these at the Katy Goodwill bins.
Yeah, you just did the video.
For $2.03, and they sold immediately for $20. Timing was right on that, though, because it was right before Christmas.
They were small.
Next up was an item that was found at an estate sale. This was an adult one-size-fits-all red velvet hooded old world Victorian style Santa or Mrs. Claus coat. And it was really high quality. Like, it wasn't Party City level cheap quality. It was a nicer one. So we just found this at an estate sale for $10. I just had a feeling about it, even though when I tried to comp it, I didn't really find anything. And when we were at the estate sale, I was like, I have a feeling about this. Let's buy
See,
it.
I saw it and I was like, well, here's this Santa thing. If you want, you can check it out. And she said she was going to get it. And I was like, really? Do you think for $10 is it really worth it?
I didn't know. It was a risk.
She called
just
it. It was
had a
really worth
feeling.
it. It was worth it. And it sold fast.
It sold immediately for $89.99. Of course, they'll probably return it after they wore it one time.
Why did you say that?
I don't know. What's wrong with me?
Don't say things like that.
Okay, and last up was a 1995 Magic the Gathering Ice Age rule book. This was Kevin's, and it sold for $4.72 on Mercari.
It's a nice set.
So that wraps up everything from this week. Let's go over the sales.
All right.
This was a good week. We sold 58 items.
Oh, wow. We did do good this week.
For an average sale price of $27.35. Our total sales were $1,557.13 for a net profit of $880.67. No, it was a good one.
I would take that every week.
Yeah.
Boy, I would take that every week. That's fantastic.
I love fourth
We
quarter.
went right over that $100 a day.
Yep, we sure did.
Nice.
Well, that wraps it up.
I'd high five you, but I'll probably knock your microphone off.
Yeah, don't do that again. No, I don't trust you. Ow. All right, well, that wraps up everything for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please let us know by hitting the like, subscribe, share button, and we will catch you guys on the flip side.